Good evening, everybody. It's Bobby Harvey here live in Ottumwa, Iowa for another edition of live train watching here on the Bobby Harvey Video Productions YouTube channel. We are here in downtown Ottumwa along the BNSF Ottumwa Subdivision, waiting for any potential movements that might be on their way right now. I've been down here for about 5 minutes so far, and there hasn't been any chatter on the radio yet. So we'll wait for a couple minutes, let you guys get in on the stream, and then we'll, nothing happens in the meantime, we'll kind of take a little tour around town and show you guys some of the stuff that's been going on in Ottumwa lately. Now, railroad-wise, operational-wise, everything's going as normal, but there are some new changes being made to the railroad here in Ottumwa. I might take you around town and show you guys some of that stuff as the night progresses. So welcome everybody to the stream. We are just getting started here. We're gonna go for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, we'll see, depending on how good the train action is tonight. But welcome everybody. Welcome Mark in Washington, Iowa. He's one of our regular viewers. Welcome. And thanks for watching. James just chimed in and said, thanks for the live stream at Old Threshers. Well, you're welcome, James. That was a fun one. And that one actually kind of took off, and viewers-wise, that I was kind of surprised at how many people tuned in, not just live, but also after the fact. It's gotten a lot of views even after the live stream ended, which that doesn't always happen for live streams. Usually it's, you get your most viewership when you're live and a little afterwards, and then the views kind of trail off. But I was really pleased with the way the viewership turned out on that live stream. So thank you everybody who tuned in. That was my previous live stream that I did. And this is only, believe it or not, this is only the third live stream, including this one, that I've done all year. But we'll make up for that as the weeks and months progress. But of course, we're getting close to the end of the year, and the days are getting shorter. And believe it or not, it's hard to believe, but we are in the final week of summer. Fall begins next week on Sunday. The autumnal equinox is next Sunday. So we're in the last week of summer before fall begins. It might be a sad fact for some of you, but I like fall. Fall is my favorite time of year, so I am looking forward to the end of summer and the beginning of fall. Mark just says that Amtrak number 5 just departed Burlington. So they are running pretty close to on time, maybe a little late. Now yesterday, if any of you were out along the tracks yesterday and were able to see Amtrak, the westbound California Zephyr had an Amtrak Dash 8 on the train. It wasn't leading, it was the third locomotive in the lasha, but it's quite a treat to see those engines come through here. You don't see them on the Zephyr very much. And it wasn't running, but they were, they're taking it out west to Oakland, I'm guessing, for their switching out there. And I think there are a couple of Dash 8s based out there. A few in Los Angeles too, maybe a couple in the Pacific Northwest. But it was engine 512, and it was trailing third in the lash up on yesterday's westbound California Zephyr, which means that train is currently going through, probably western Colorado right now, and they'll be arriving in Oakland, or excuse me, Emeryville, suburb of Oakland, San Francisco area tomorrow. And that is the train that went through yesterday with the Dash 8 on it. They'll be pulling into California tomorrow. They are in Colorado, probably getting close to Utah right now. So that was yesterday's train. Tonight's train, I went ahead and looked at the Galesburg rail cam just to see what's on it. It's going to be your standard Amtrak train. 2 locomotives, baggage car, and the usual consist. Which, unfortunately, we're still short a coach car. There's still only 2 coaches. Usually, I mean, pre-COVID, there were 3 coach cars. But, yeah, Mark comments said the 512 in the consist going through Fort Morgan. Yes, I'm sure Mr. Jensen out in Fort Morgan, Colorado, he gets the California Zephyr every single day. Quite an accomplishment, and it's pretty cool that he does that. Mike Jensen? I think Mike Jensen. He takes video of the Amtrak trains coming into Fort Morgan, Colorado every single day, pretty much. I mean, he almost never misses a day, and he has a huge following. I mean, his videos get like thousands of views, like within the first 24 hours of him uploading them. So, I mean, it's pretty neat stuff. And Mark just commented that 512 was in the consist on the train going through Fort Morgan this morning. So, if we don't hear anything on the radio, if nothing else happens, we are going to start going around town and maybe looking at some of these new improvements that BNSF is working on right now here in Ottumwa. It's pretty interesting. I knew that they were going to put in a couple of crossovers to kind of improve the traffic flow for Amtrak when they get the station finished. I was talking in the live stream here in Ottumwa last time that they've kind of changed the plans for the platform renovations. The platform for Main 1 is pretty much done. The fencing is up, installed, signage is up. I mean, it's essentially done, and it looks great. I mean, they've done a really good job on it. The middle platform with the new plans is going to be completely removed. They're not going to save any of it. They're going to completely remove it. So that makes Amtrak stopping at the station a little more complicated if the train is on Main 2. Well, how are they going to unload passengers if there's no platform across Main 2 to Main 1 and the station? Well, when BNSF puts in these new crossovers, the Zephyr is going to do a move similar to what the Southwest Chief does in Fort Madison, where the dispatcher always puts Amtrak on Main 1 to do their station work, and then they'll cross over to whatever track they need to be on to continue on their way. I mean, they can't do that right now because there aren't any new crossovers yet, but when they're put in, the idea is they're going to run Amtrak on Main 1 either direction, whether they're going east or westbound, and they will always stop at the new platforms that were installed here on Main 1. The middle platforms will be removed. But like I said in the last stream, I would rather have one platform and the canopies associated with it completely overhauled as opposed to losing both platforms. So it's a fair trade, and it's going to be really nice when they get it done. And it already looks nice. I went down there a couple nights ago just to kind of check it out after watching some trains, and it looks great. One of these days we'll get down there on the platform itself and film down there when Amtrak does their work. So I thought that the crossovers and the related work involved when putting those in, I thought that was all that BNSF is doing. But they're doing a lot more too. They're also putting in new crossing boxes at pretty much every single grade crossing here in town. And they're also putting in new signals, which are, I assume they're putting those in anticipation of where these new crossovers are going to go. And from the way it looks, the theory that I had in the last live stream that they were going to put in signals directly on the east side of the Jefferson Street Viaduct in a more visible place from downtown, that theory has proved correct. Those signals are in place. They're turned, obviously. They're not active yet, but they are in place in anticipation of the new crossovers going in. So, but then they're also doing work down at Iowa Avenue, and I don't really know what they're doing down there. So I don't know if one of the crossovers is going to go down there too. And then on the west side of town, down by what BNSF still calls the IC&E RRX, which is the Diamond Crossing with CPKC, there's a new signal head on the westbound signal for Main 1. So I'm guessing they're going to put in addition to upgrading the crossover that's already there, they're going to put in another crossover down there. So my additional theory that they're going to put in double crossovers on either side of town might be correct. And that'll really improve traffic flow through here, not just for Amtrak, but also for freight trains. Like, let's say Amtrak pulls in to the station going west on Main 1, like they will be doing when these crossovers are put in. And let's say for whatever reason, BNSF wants to send a freight train around Amtrak on the other side. Well, when these new crossovers get put in, they'll be able to do that. And vice versa. And say a freight train's going through on Main 2, and Amtrak's right behind it, and they want to get it in first. Well, or let's say they bring a train in and stop it and have Amtrak go around them. I mean, there's a lot of things that they could do with double crossovers on either side of town. But in the rail fan perspective, it'll be really nice because you'll have signals not just on the west side of town, but also on the east side of town, visible from downtown. And you'll be able to know what's going on, whether there's trains coming east or west. That'll be nice. And I'm guessing that BNSF is going to extend, since these are all going to be signal crossovers, I'm assuming that BNSF is going to extend the segment of CTC signaling from the Diamond to the east side of town. So all these signals, I'm assuming, will be controlled by the dispatcher. And that'll really help rail fanning, because the signal aspects, when you see them, when they turn green in CTC, you know that the dispatcher has lined a movement through. And that's pretty much saying that there is a train coming. Now, sometimes, the dispatcher can line trains up, sometimes over an hour in advance. But you do know that there is some sort of movement coming. Now, from what I've found out, at least for westbound trains now, the signal will turn green for westbound trains down at the Diamond, which we might go down there here in a couple of minutes since there's really nothing going on at the moment. The signal will turn green a lot of times, give or take. A good rule of thumb is if you catch the signal actually coming on and turning green, like right when it happens initially, it could be anywhere from a half hour to 45 minutes sometimes before the train actually shows up. But obviously that's if you actually catch it right when it turns green. If you come down here and the signal's already green, well, there's no telling how long it's been green. So you better get ready and get set up for pictures, because there's a train line through. So it'll be neat to have that indication going east along with going west. Like I said in the last stream, the signals eastbound from the Diamond are not on CTC. It is track warrant controlled ABS, automatic block signals. So those are basically just controlled by whatever's in that block. If there's no train in the block, they'll be green. And obviously if there's a train coming or if there's a train in the block, they'll be red. But they're not controlled by the dispatchers. They're basically just controlled by whatever is tripping them in the block. So when there's nothing around, they'll be green. Basically meaning that the block is unoccupied, but the dispatcher hasn't done anything to make those signals turn green. So if the signal's green, that doesn't necessarily mean there's a train coming in ABS territory. Now in CTC it does, because in CTC the signals are red until the dispatcher actually lines a train through, and then they turn green. There is a pair of ABS signals at Vine Street right now, but they don't come on nearly in advance of a train. I mean, maybe within just 5 minutes or so before a train gets here. So it's not a very good warning of a train coming unless you see it and you're in a good spot to get there in time. But with the CTC changeover, you'll be able to see there's a train coming much further in advance. So it'll be really neat and it'll be neat for the trains, train fluidity, if that's even a word, itself. It'll be neat to see the trains actually be operated more efficiently through town. That is kind of surprising that BNSF is putting a lot of investment into putting these crossovers in. And I don't know why that the middle platform work at the station fell through. Maybe it was a request by BNSF to not put in the second platform after the overhaul, or what the deal was. But either way, all these new crossovers will be a vastly huge improvement to train traffic here in Ottumwa. Allow the dispatcher to do a lot of things that they're not able to do right now. It'll really improve the flow of traffic through here. All right, so there's nothing going on at the moment, so we're going to go ahead and take a drive around town, and I'll show you guys some of these things that I'm talking about. We might pause at some of the areas so you can actually see them. All right. So welcome everybody to the stream. Saw a lot of familiar names pop in and say hello. So welcome, guys. So there's nothing going on at this moment, so we're going to go ahead and take a little tour around town, and I'm going to show you guys some of the stuff that I'm talking about here. And maybe while we're doing that, a train will go through. So somebody commented on my last stream to change my wiper blade. So I haven't done it yet, but I've gotten some new blades. I'm going to need to install them. I did make sure I cleaned off the windshield before I started this stream. Alright, I'm going to pause here for this red truck to go by. Off we go. We're going to go down to Clay Street, show you the progress they've done down here. It's not much, but it's significant. It's an indicator that there's going to be a set of double crossovers down here. Right now we're driving on the little road behind the Ottumwa Waterworks, right alongside the Des Moines River. And there actually used to be a railroad track down here, just to the right of the road that I'm on now. It was a little spur of Milwaukee Road, branched off from the tracks that still exist now, and went down along the river, and it connected with the Wabash Railroad in a small yard down there. The Wabash, that's where the crossing was right there, just went over this old Milwaukee spur. Wabash Bridge that the Wabash tracks used to go over still exists, and it is now a pedestrian bridge for pedestrian traffic, bicycles. There's the BNSF tracks over there to our right again. Now, as you can see, there's a new crossing box that they're putting in, and BNSF is doing this to all the crossings in town. I don't know if that's something to do with the conversion to CTC or what. I don't know if they change the crossing circuits while they do all that or not. I don't know. But they're doing that to every crossing here in town. One thing I don't like, and it's not a big deal really because you can find this information online, but BNSF is removing the milepost numbers on the crossings through here. I thought it was always a nice reference when you're doing a video or something and you don't know where you are on the railroad, you can just look at the milepost number on the crossing box. Well, BNSF is taking the milepost numbers off of the crossings. But if you look online, like the FRA has like a railroad crossing inventory website where you can look at crossing information. You can get all the milepost information on there. I usually cross-reference that whenever I'm doing research for my videos, when I'm doing captions and labeling, just to make sure I've got the information right. All right, here is Clay Street. I'm gonna flip the camera, I'm gonna pull in really quickly here once we cross the tracks, show you this new signal head. Now, speaking of the signals, they are off, so it might be a while before we see anything on the BNSF. First train might be Amtrak. Amtrak might be the only train we get today. I mean, who knows? We'll just have to see. Okay, we're going to whip back around here, jump the curb slightly. And as you can see, right there, on the signal facing Main 1, the westbound signal on Main 1, it's a little bright because of the sun. We'll try and, there we go. That signal right there has a new signal head on it. Now, this used to be just a one-head signal because there wasn't a crossover or any, interlockings nearby. Well, now they put this second signal head in, and I guarantee you that's because they're going to put in a crossover for westbound trains to switch over from Main 1 to 2 if necessary. And that'll be nice because let's say, and this happens now, let's say a freight train goes through the station and then Amtrak is running right behind them. Well, what if the dispatcher wants to run Amtrak around that freight? Well, they can't do that right now until control point 2888, which is about 8 miles west of here. Now, once they get this crossover in, they'll be able to run Amtrak after they've done their station work at the station. They'll be able to run Amtrak right around the freight, have them switch over from Main 1 to 2 and overtake the freight or any other trains and then switch them back over. I mean, they could even do that with a freight train that's just gone through. They could park it before 2888, send Amtrak around it on Main 2, and then Amtrak can go back over at 2888 and continue on their way. And any eastbound freight trains running on Main 2, they won't have to stop for very long. The dispatcher could pull them up a little further. Because right now, a common meeting area for trains to be staged for Amtrak to run around them is Maxon and Halpin. There are crossovers there. Basically the east and west sides of Albia. But that's, over 20 miles west of here. So for the dispatcher to be able to run Amtrak around freights this close to Ottumwa, in fact, right in Ottumwa, that'll really improve the flow of traffic on the line. Not just for Amtrak, but also for freight trains too. So, and I noticed that the last night I was down here, a couple nights ago, I was down here getting Amtrak, and I noticed that. I'm like, well, that is proof that they're probably going to put in another crossover here. So there's that. We're going to go ahead and go to another spot now. I don't know if I can get it in the picture, but we'll try. The brand new signals on the east side of the station, down on the other side of the Jefferson Street Viaduct. Signals are still out. Now, these were signals in the last live stream that I kind of theorized that they might be putting a set of signals there. And I hope they would, and as it turns out they are, because I am assuming that one of the new crossovers on the east side of the station is going to be put in right on the other side of the Jefferson Street Viaduct. And I'm guessing it's going to be about where the existing non-signaled crossover is now, which I talked about in the last live stream. I have never seen a train go through that crossover, and I assume it's still maintained. But I've never seen it used, and it's, and for good reason. It's on the segment that is still track warrant control ABS, so a lot of the crossovers are not signaled. They're just there for, in case a train has to use them, but they're very slow crossovers, 10-mile-an-hour speed limit, and they're hand throw. The train crew actually has to throw the switches by hand. So you can imagine for a long freight train, that would be really inconvenient. I mean, either the conductor would have to throw the switches and then walk all the way back to the front of the train, or they would have to leave them thrown in the reverse position, and then the next train would have to get a track warrant saying, be prepared to stop, and then they would have to stop and reline the switches. Now, they still do that on CPKC, but of course that's a much less busy line. And it's a single track line, so it's not quite as dangerous. So that's the Gateway Drive crossing we just went over. I have never seen them use that crossover, but I'm guessing they're going to take it out, put in a signaled crossover that's a lot longer so trains can go over it at a faster speed. And then, of course, the dispatcher will have control over the crossover. He'll be able to automatically throw the switches, the signals will automatically change, and trains can just go straight through. And so, since these are going to be CTC signals, and they're going to be closer to downtown, us rail fans will be able to see those signals from downtown. We'll be able to know what's coming going east. We really haven't had a very good way of knowing what's coming east since they eliminated track warrants, verbal track warrants over the radio. So it'll be nice to know again, to have a little more advanced warning of when eastbound trains are coming. The station's pretty quiet right now, even though Amtrak is, less than an hour away. I guess I don't really know why I got on this road. We're going to go back to the water plant this way, so I'm going to double back here on South Court Street so we can go down and cross the tracks at Green Street, which is the next crossing over. Now, of course, before they did all the quiet zone work here in town, you could go straight across Market Street down there and get to Green Street, but now you can't because the quiet zone median is in the way. You have to turn right. It's a pretty night to go driving around downtown, that's for sure. Now, in the last live stream, we got to go around the brand new roundabout. I just for fun, while the stream was going, I went around the new roundabout that they just opened on the south side of town at the intersection of Albia Road and Quincy. And that brings Ottumwa's roundabout total up to 4. There are 4 roundabouts, intersections on Ottumwa roads now. And it would not surprise me in the next several years if they put in more. I don't know where that would be, but, roundabouts, seem to solve every traffic problem in this town. But they have solved a lot of, long waits at traffic lights and, stop signs, dangerous, situations. But then some drivers don't really know how to drive through roundabouts and how to yield to other drivers in the roundabout and stuff like that. So it's kind of a trade-off, but it does keep traffic moving. So this is the Green Street crossing here on BNSF's Ottumwa Subdivision, and as you can see on the right-hand side of the tracks there's another new crossing box, and they're much bigger, and they're also climate controlled. I think the old ones were too, but they're a lot bigger. And another thing that's kind of interesting, well, you might not be able to see it there, but there is one of the new signals directly east of the Jefferson Street Viaduct. I'm going to see if I can pull in there and get a closer look. Going underneath the viaduct now. And just off to the left there is the very end of one of the sidings in the BNSF yard that the Burlington Junction Railroad has control over. Oh yeah, there's a really good view of that signal. Well, we'll go back. The other new signal is very close to, well, it's closer to the existing signals. And there it is. So we'll look at that one first. This is Union Street. At one time it used to go across the railroad tracks, but it doesn't now. It is a dead end. Stop here really quick. And there it is. There is the new signal, one of the new signals. This one is for Main 2. As you can see, it's turned sideways right now, but it will be activated. And it's kind of interesting that they would stagger the signals. They would put one signal down here and the other one further up. I think maybe the reason is so, because there's kind of a curve through here. I think maybe they did it so that the engineers can see the signals before the curve, which is always a good idea. That way they don't have to do any like delayed and block slow speeds until they get to the next signal. So that's probably why they staggered them. So the next crossover may not begin until after that, maybe, or before, I don't know. But that is one of the new signals that's going in down here. It's a pretty neat scene. We pan over here, we can see the old GP7 locomotive that Burlington Junction uses. That engine has been captive down here in the BNSF yard for many years. And it's a, well, to quote, you know, Sir Topham Hatt, I mean, it's been a really useful engine for the Burlington Junction Railway. I mean, it's been down here. It's their only switcher down here in the yard for a long, long time. Probably since Burlington Junction took over switching down here, which is, shoot, we got to be approaching 20 years now. And there's always some pretty neat freight cars down here. This is kind of a transload team track that Burlington Junction switches out. It's an area where semis can pull their loads in and can be transferred. The freight can be transferred from the semis to the trains and vice versa. The trains can bring freight in and they can be offloaded onto semis to go to their final destinations at places around town and nearby. Now, a lot of the stuff that they bring in and out on this transload track is grain. And you can usually see a lot of really neat, it tends to be a lot of really neat old freight cars, old grain freight cars. And today is no exception. We've got an old Sioux Line hopper right there. That's pretty cool. It's covered in graffiti. I don't know what that says. Something after freight. It's neat to see those old Sioux Line wheat hopper cars. And when we go to the other signal, which is just up the line here, I saw another neat freight car. Yes, it's A-Train. I think it was A-Train. He just brought up that directly across the tracks here, and I remember this building. It was still there until, you know, I don't know, at least 6 years ago, maybe longer. There used to be a Rock Island Freight Depot building directly across the tracks here. It was a really neat old building. It said Rock Island Lines on it. And yes, to comment on Mark's latest comment, the Rock Island did come through Ottumwa. And in downtown, it paralleled the CB&Q, which of course is now BNSF, tracks on the north side of the tracks. It paralleled those tracks all the way through town, and then on the east side of town, it went under them and then went down towards Eldon and Keokuk. Of course, that line is long gone now. 1980 is when they pulled it up, right after the Rock Island declared bankruptcy. It was not much longer after that that line got torn out. And this little track that the Burlington Junction runs now, that was one of the legs that went down to the Wabash and Milwaukee little yard underneath the Jefferson Street Viaduct that I was talking about earlier in the stream. And shortly after we moved to the area, right around the beginning of the 21st century, there were still some little overgrown legs of track that went out onto the old Wabash Bridge. Of course, now those tracks are gone, and the Wabash Bridge is now a pedestrian bridge, which I'm very glad that they were able to repurpose the bridge into something useful. So the bridge is saved. Part of Ottumwa's railroad history has been preserved. But there is, well, is that for, yes it is. That is for main 2. Okay, we're actually going to pull in here really quick just so you guys can see the engine one last time before we turn around. And then they keep the engine when they're not running. Huh. There's actually a few what appear to be new signal heads sitting there alongside the fence where the Burlington Junction keeps their engine and cars. So those are probably for the westbound signals, which I don't even think they're up yet, but I haven't been down here to check, so we might swing by there later if we have time. It's kind of surprising that I have not heard a single thing on the radio yet. We've been going for 35 minutes and I have not heard anything. All right, we gotta go around these pedestrians and cyclists. Greetings. There's something. All right, so we're not going to go in, obviously, but we're going to pull right up to the edge of this fence, which is wide open. Now, this is where the semis go in to be loaded and unloaded. I've actually never pulled in here before. It's kind of a neat view. But anyways, there's the Ottumwa High School poking its head through there in the background. There is the other signal, and that is for main 1 traffic, the new signal, which is turned sideways. And those are 2 of the new signals that are going in place for these new crossovers that BNSF is going to install. Now, none of the track work has started yet, but there's been a lot of prep work, and these signals are part of that. So, yeah, this transload siding of the Burlington Junction continues past this spot. This is where the semis pull in. A bunch of really neat old hopper cars down here, and you see a little of everything. I've seen Canada wheat hoppers. I've seen the Alberta hoppers, which are some of my favorites. The blue hoppers with the gold lettering, big Alberta lettering on the sides. I've seen those down here. That one down there, we really can't see, but it's kind of faded, but it looks to be one of the old pink Iowa hopper cars, which you see some of those down here too. Some of them are actually still in pretty decent condition considering their age. But that one's so faded you can barely even tell, but it does look like one of those. But yeah, a lot of grain traffic comes down here. I would assume that grain is being loaded onto trains. Might be unloaded sometimes too. Okay, I'm gonna try and do a U down here. Because when we turn around, we're going to be directly north of the Wabash Bridge, which we were referencing here in the stream a little bit. There it is. The north end of the Wabash Bridge there in the background, which is now a pedestrian overpass used for bicyclists as well. There's actually a few of them coming off right now. The tracks used to come down kind of off that levee, and of course a lot of this was, you know, probably a lot more even ground so that the tracks could go down into the yard area here, but the bridge now links up a lot of the trails here in the Ottumwa area, which I'm glad that they did that. I'm glad that they preserved the bridge in that way. And not too long ago, I think it was actually last year, that some person, some idiot, set fire to the little approach bridge segment on the south side of the Wabash Bridge, set fire to it, and it burned. And so the bridge was actually closed for a while, and they just recently, not too long ago, they repaired that section of the bridge. It's now a new segment, and the bridge is open again. Whenever stuff like that happens, you always worry if, you know, they're just going to close it up and never reopen it. So I'm glad that they got to refurbishing it and reopening it again. Dakota says, we might go down there. Dakota says, I doubt it's still there, but a few weeks ago, there was an old SD70 parked at the end of the yard. And were we referencing the BNSF yard or CPKC? We're going to go down there anyway, since we're in the vicinity of the BNSF yard. We might peek down Vine Street and see if there's any new signal work down there. So we've been going for about 40 minutes and hey, this looks like a camera car. It is. It's a Google Street View. Hey! That may be one of the highlights of the night. The Google Street View camera car just went by me. So not only is this being live streamed all over the world right now, but my car might actually be in the next installment of Google Street View as I was doing a live stream all over the world on YouTube. That is pretty neat. I have never actually seen one of those cars in person before. Okay, Iowa Train says should be an eastbound soon. BNSF, okay. Past the Ottumwa radio studios there, which I do not listen to anymore because I have satellite radio. My wife and I have satellite radio. This is not an advertisement, but anybody that has not tried satellite radio should try it. You will never go back. It is fabulous. All right. So anyways, as I was saying, when the Google Street View car just went by, sorry for the lack of trains so far, but it looks like we might be making up for that sometime soon. I think it was Iowa Trains. I said that there was a sand train that went through Mount Pleasant not long ago, and he also just said that there was an eastbound approaching too, so we might have to zoom back down to the Market Street parking lot to see about that here soon. There are the existing signals here at 279. Doesn't look like they've been altered in any way. Well, I don't remember the westbound on Main 2 signal having a second head, so they might have changed that. There is a Loram rail grinder car down there in the yard. I don't know if we can get a better look at that or not. We probably should go back and get set up for these approaching trains. So yeah, that's a brief little tour of what's been going on here in Ottumwa on the BNSF. Some of the new upgrades. And as they keep working on things, we will definitely come down here and see if we can view some of the work. We did a lot of that as the platform work was being, some of the preliminary platform work was being done at the station. That'll be really interesting to look back on in years to come. And they're still not done. They still have to remove the middle platform, which, and I think I mentioned this on the previous stream. I don't know, once that middle platform is removed, I don't know if BNSF plans on straightening Main 2. Or if they're just gonna keep it kind of going out and back in where the platform used to be. It would make sense for them to straighten it, but I don't know if they're going to do that or not. 5 left Mount Pleasant on Main 1. Sand train was on Main 2. Okay. So the sand train is going against the flow of traffic on Main 2. Well, I don't know if the SD70 is still there or not. We didn't quite get down that far. We don't want to miss any trains approaching, so we might poke down there later. Make sure that I want to make sure we don't miss any actual trains. It's pretty neat going through downtown and talking about all these new improvements, which are pretty interesting. Hopefully they are to you guys as well. But the main purpose of this stream is to see trains, so I want to make sure we are in a place where we can get all the trains that come through while we're doing the stream. Now, I think it was Dakota that mentioned earlier, am I ready for spooky season? Yes, I am ready for fall, definitely. Fall begins just a week from now. And I think Dakota was probably referencing Midwest Haunted Rails over at Old Threshers, which will be beginning in a little less than a month. As I kind of mentioned on the previous stream, which was at Old Threshers, the actual Old Threshers reunion, I kind of mentioned the possibility, I don't know if I will actually do a live stream during it or not. I might just take my regular video camera. We'll see. I mentioned the possibility of maybe doing a live stream at Haunted Rails. We'll see. Okay, we have returned to the Market Street crossing, Market Street parking lot. We might not actually stay here. I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything. I haven't heard any chatter or anything yet. Except that one little blip, which is kind of far away of the dispatcher, kind of like just that. I mean, clearly. Well, there's the CPKC. So I don't know. Might be any activity on the CPKC as well. A lot of interference. There's a lot more interference on the CPKC's Rutledge Tower than normal. They're talking to some train. I couldn't tell what it was or where they are. Yesterday I went out and did a little train watching, obviously to see the Amtrak Dash 8 that came through on the Zephyr, which I talked about earlier. But before then, I also got to see CPKC train 181 that went north. It's a pretty good train. It, of course, is the hotshot intermodal train that goes from Mexico to the Chicago area. And it had its usual locomotives, intermodal cars, and then there was a little section of mixed freight in between the intermodal cars and the auto racks. There were a lot of auto racks at the end of the train. The last two were brand new Norfolk Southern auto racks. I mean, they were brand new. Seem to be a lot more newer auto rack cars going through on the railroads lately. Which maybe that means the auto delivery business is up. Retracing our steps from earlier. We might park down here in the Plumbing Supply parking lot. I don't think I've ever parked there before during a live stream. Kind of gives you a broader view of the trains. Lighting is really nice right now. Of course, you know what? I mean, Amtrak's going to be coming in soon. So, I have to remember that. Make sure I'm in a place to see them come in at least. You know, we might take a gamble and just park ourselves here for this train, this freight train. And if for some reason Amtrak comes in before we get back over there, we'll at least be able to see him leave. Yeah, Mark says he's seen a lot of auto wrecks coming through Washington this summer. And I've seen a lot come through this whole year. I mean, there's been a lot of, like I said, new auto wrecks coming through. This is a pretty decent vantage point. Like I said, it's a little more of a broader view. Of course, cars are passing right in front of us. We can't really avoid that, but something different. Let's see. You know me. Maybe we should try something even better. That way cars aren't going in front of us, and it might be a little more interesting of a view. Let's go down to the water plant parking lot, which is directly in front of the train station. So we just pretty much keep going straight on this road that says no outlet, because this is literally just leading you to the parking lot of the water plant. As you can see, it is right in front of the train station. Amtrak 5 is almost to Lockridge now. Well, this is kind of a neat scene. A little different. So, if Amtrak were to come in while we're here, it's not the end of the world, because we'll still see him pull in. Alright, let's see if I can read some more messages here to try and kind of figure out ETA on some of these trains. There we go. Okie dokie, we are here. We're going to go ahead and wait here for Amtrak. Roll down the windows. Yeah, like I said, we might just wait for Amtrak here. And if a freight train goes by in the meantime, we'll see it go through on Main 2. But A-Train was saying something, I think it was A-Train, saying something about the sand train that went through Mount Pleasant was on Main 1, or Main 2. Let's see, let's go back and read some messages here. Mark says he rode Rock Island as a child with my parents from Columbus Junction to Mesa, Arizona. Wow, that's incredible. It's hard to believe that you could actually get on a train in so many different places years ago and pretty much go wherever you wanted to go. But we also have to remember that we're actually pretty lucky in America to still have the passenger rail network that we do. I mean, Amtrak always kind of gets a bad rap for, you know, not going everywhere and not going as many places as it used to go, and, you know, just thinking of all the passenger trains that we've lost. But you also have to think of how fortunate we are to still have the passenger trains that we have, and that they're still being, you know, at least maintained. But with the example of these improvements here in the Ottumwa station, I mean, there's some improvements going on to make the passenger rail experience better. And we all wish that there were more trains and more frequency on certain routes. I mean, I think, you know, a second train to Denver would be really popular. That would be running on this line. Kind of in the same example as the Amtrak Borealis, which is a new train that goes between Chicago and St. Paul. And it's turned out to be very popular. And it would just be nice to have some more trains on the existing rail lines for better frequencies, but we are still fortunate to have what we have. And the fact that here in Ottumwa, you can get on a passenger train going either direction every day, and you can take that train to over 500 different places on Amtrak's network. I mean, it might take you a couple days to reach your destination, but from here you can go anywhere on the Amtrak system, which will take you to, well, let's see, 40, how many states does Amtrak serve? 48? I think that's right. 47, 48. There's no Amtrak service in South Dakota. There's none in Wyoming. I don't know. Those might be the only two states that Amtrak doesn't serve. Obviously, they don't serve Alaska and Hawaii, but that's not in the continental U.S. So I think it is 46 states that Amtrak serves. Now, some states, it's hardly anything. Like, one example that comes to mind is Idaho. I'm pretty sure Amtrak used to serve a lot more places in Idaho when the Pioneer was running, and years ago when the North Coast Hiawatha was running. But I'm pretty sure, I'm not entirely for certain, but I'm pretty sure there is only one Amtrak station in Idaho today on the Empire Builder, in northern Idaho. There is some throughway bus service into central Idaho, but that's an example of, I mean, Amtrak serves Idaho, but barely. But it's, it's better than nothing. So, I mean, we're fortunate to still have the passenger network that we have. And, it might be increased in the years down the road. It takes a lot of work to get a new train up and running these days. And you got to jump through all the, the hoops of starting a new service and dealing with all the regulations and all the red tape and, politics and all that stuff. But, I mean, some trains that, you probably didn't think would come back have come back to a certain extent. Frank just commented, Sandpoint, Idaho. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is the only Amtrak stop in Idaho, the only actual rail station in Idaho. There's some throughway bus service, but that's the only rail station, Sandpoint, Idaho, that Amtrak serves. And I'm pretty sure most of the time it's during the night. So, I mean, that's even better. The only Amtrak stop in the whole state is served in the middle of the night. But again, it's better than nothing. So we are here at the Ottumwa station. This is a different view than what I've normally featured before, really in not only my live streams, but also videoing in general. I have hardly ever taken video of Amtrak at this vantage point, especially in the evening. And it is going to be on Main 1, I'm assuming, so we're going to see it go through kind of in the background on the other side of the station canopy. The middle station canopy, which is going to be removed, excuse me. And the whole platform, middle platform, going across Main 1 to 2 will be totally taken out, which was not part of the original renovation plans, but for whatever reason, the plans have changed. But BNSF, it probably has to do with BNSF putting in these crossovers, which I'd like to think that was in BNSF's plans before the plans here changed. And that might be why the plans here have changed. Put in these crossovers, run Amtrak over to Main 1, and there's really no need to have the middle platform. Now, if there's a reason why Amtrak, for whatever reason, had to pull in on Main 2, there's probably going to be some sort of like emergency crossover or something that the passengers can still get on the train if they were on Main 2. You see stuff like this happen like on the Northeast Corridor, for example. If for some reason they had to pull a train in on the middle track, that there's actually a way to kind of bridge passengers over the tracks onto the train on the middle track. Doesn't happen much, and it's not very convenient, but if there's a reason why they had to come in on the middle track or the opposing track, as the example here, they'd still be able to do it. And I think that'll still be the case because the new platform still goes down to the existing pedestrian crossover to Main 2 the main 2 platform. The new platform has already been finished, and it still has that little ramp down to that crossover. So I'm guessing they'll leave that crossover there. So if they have to pull Amtrak in on main 2 in the future, they could still do their station work there. The only thing is they would have to pull the train up for every single spot at every door they decide to open, which takes a while and it's inconvenient, but it can be done. When I rode the Southwest Chief to Los Angeles about 10 years ago now, believe it or not, it's hard to believe it was that long ago, but I rode the Southwest Chief to Los Angeles and got on at Fort Madison, and that's pretty much what they did. They were still at the old station down in the yard, and BNSF always liked to bring Amtrak in on that siding, which was closest to the station. But they could also bring them in on main 1, which was also had a platform. But main 2 at the old Amtrak station did not have a platform, but there was a little walkway across the tracks, and for whatever reason they had to bring Amtrak in on main 2, and so they did like 3 or 4 stops to allow passengers to get on the train and walk across main 1 to get on the train on main 2. And that happened when I was getting on the train. It was kind of funny because, you know, I was getting really excited, anticipating, you know, getting on the train. It's like you got to wait for the train to make all these little spots to get on. And at that time, the train was already, if I remember right, it was like 2 or 3 hours late. So I was like, come on, let's get on the train and get out of here. Well, we have been going for an hour, and so far we have not seen anything, but we've gotten reports from you guys that have been commenting here on the stream. There's at least 2 freight trains and Amtrak approaching now. I would like to think Amtrak would be getting close by now. So, with that, we're going to go ahead and get ready. Roll down the windows here and turn the car off so you can hear all the ambiance. So when the car is running, you might notice that the phone just vibrates slightly when the car engine is running. And now it's not. Might actually go ahead and set up the tripod. I brought all my equipment to do that, so we might go ahead and do that as we wait for the trains to show up. I brought a Capri Sun with me. Well, you know what? That sounds like a CPKC train. Well, rats. That must have been what we heard earlier. There's no way we're going to get over there now. Yeah, we'll see. We'll listen. Maybe if they leave town later, we might see them leaving. But yeah, Frank says that Amtrak is west of Fairfield. Yeah, we're not going to move. We're gonna wait for our approaching trains. But that probably means, I mean, obviously, if there's a CPKC train going through, there's not going to be any eastbound BNSF trains, at least until they clear. Yep, the station's looking pretty nice. Yeah, wonder what train that is. It's definitely a southbound on the CPKC. I would jump over there. I would have jumped over there and tried to get it, but I didn't know it was coming. But like I said, if they do their work. There's a lot of interference on the CP radio today. I think I was having that problem the other day too. You know, just probably whatever's, you know, in the air, whatever's interfering. 8800 number, so it's a CP ES44AC. if they do their work down in the yard quickly and we hear them get a warrant, I mean, if there's nothing else going on, we might jump south of town a little ways and see them departing. And in the meantime, we got Amtrak coming, and then we've got at least 2 freight trains. Okay, Iowa train says 250 or 260, CP 8829, leading solo. Of course, you guys, I'm sure, are probably checking out the rail cams here in town, so you'll be able to see them on there. So yeah, it's a pretty neat train. So like I said, if they do their work in a decent amount of time, and after Amtrak, we might see them later. Okay, let's go back up here to your comments. Yeah, I was talking about Mark's comment about riding the train from Columbus Junction to Mesa, Arizona. Yeah. And to do that nowadays, of course, Mesa is very close to Phoenix. To do that now, you would have to get on Amtrak in, well, what's the closest from Columbus Junction? Probably Mount Pleasant. You have to get on at Mount Pleasant and go, well, you'd either have to go all the way to, that's probably the most direct way. Actually, I don't know. You'd probably have to go all the way to San Francisco, down the Coast Starlight to Los Angeles, and back over on the Sunset Limited to the Phoenix area. Or you could go to Chicago, get on the Southwest Chief and go to LA and back. Right, there might be a throughway bus from like Williams or something down to Phoenix. I don't know. That might be the most direct way. But obviously, there's no completely direct way from Columbus Junction to Arizona anymore. But it's neat reading about all the history of these lines and history riding the trains on these different lines. The neat thing is, though, that even though the passenger trains are gone, a lot of the railroad tracks, including the old Rock Island, a lot of them are still intact. Large portions of the Golden State line, which Mark is referencing, is no longer there, but bits and pieces of it still exist to a certain extent. I think most of the existing Golden State route, which is what the nickname was of the Rock Island line that went west, the majority of the line that still exists is out west. Okay, Dakota was talking about this SD70 that might have been down in the yard, 9955. What was it? SD70 Mac, I bet. Then Iowa Trains was talking about the Eastbound with BNSF 8584. That was a while ago, but obviously they're not going to go through until the CPKC train goes through. Yeah, Iowa Train says the SD70 Mac Dakota is talking about traces to Kansas City now. So yeah, that engine's not there anymore. But well, Amtrak must be getting close. Well, BNSF frequency is doing that too, so I don't know if it's something in the air or maybe my scanner is going out. Hope not.
Copy that. We're gonna have
Well, Amtrak is approaching. Scanner difficulties notwithstanding, they are going to be here soon. Might be our first train. Hopefully these BNSF trains go through as well. When did he say that there was a sand train going through Mount Pleasant? Let's go back and see just when that was. Give or take, it takes about an hour for freight trains to get from Mount Pleasant to here. So let's see. Westbound sand train through Mount Pleasant about 10 minutes ago. That was at 5:49. So 5:39 roughly was when that went through. So yeah, that train, that train should be through any time now, because it's been well over an hour. It's been almost an hour and a half. But they might be waiting for this eastbound train, which is also waiting on the CPKC train to go through. So it's like a waiting game. A train says something just cleared 250.2. .2, yeah, which the train crews refer to as CP 2502, control point 2502. Yeah, Iowa Train is just commenting what I'm already thinking. Sand train likely crossed over at 2502 behind Amtrak. So that's probably the case. So we will see Amtrak, and we will see this eastbound BNSF train, wherever it is. And then we might see this sand train, and we might get this CPKC train if they get out of the yards in an expedited manner. But that's, providing we... Okay, that train is 260. I just heard on the radio that CPKC train that's coming in right now. I think we're breaking a world record right now for my live stream count. There are 40 people watching right now. Welcome, guys. For those of you just tuning in, you haven't missed much yet. We are waiting for our first trains of the night, and we've been going for over an hour now. But the previous bit of the stream, which you guys can back up and watch if you wish, we kind of went around town and looked at some of the new improvements that are going in on the BNSF here in anticipation of them installing new crossovers on the east and west side of town, which will allow Amtrak to pull in on Main 1. Wow, Iowa Train says the sand train has a Kansas City Southern ACE 3rd and a CPGE on the rear. That's pretty unusual for a BNSF train, so hopefully we can get that.
I've not spotted this new platform yet. Let me know when you're on that road. Thank you.
Tim Jacobs just asks, did you get that trolley pic I sent you on Facebook from Old Threshers? I did. That was interesting. That was of the old green Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority trolleys that the Midwest Electric used to have. And I actually remember riding in one of them before they were sold or sent elsewhere. That was 2002, I think, when I remember riding in that trolley. That was pretty neat. Kind of wish they still had it, but I think that was right around when 1945, the trolley 1945 showed up. So I don't know if they traded it for that or what the deal was, but those were neat trolleys. Well, we were all just kind of waiting here for Amtrak. They should be here any time. It is 6:57 now, which is the scheduled departure time for Amtrak, but as you can see, they are not here yet. But they will be shortly, because the conductor, you kind of see him out there walking the platform. And the engineer is already at the end of the platform, ready to get on the train. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and while we're in here anyways, get the camera on my trusty little selfie stick. We'll kind of pan around so you guys can see the train approaching in real time here without being subject to just the mount on the car here. Well, here we are looking at the station here in Ottumwa. As you can see, we got the conductor there on the platform. He's ready to get on. Down here, we've got the engineer. He's waiting at the end of the platform down there for the Zephyr. They're going to be coming in pretty soon here. I've got 50 people watching the stream right now. That's incredible, guys. Welcome. You guys have not missed a thing. We are waiting for Amtrak. And then after Amtrak, we are going to hopefully get some freight trains. So okay, we got the Ottumwa dispatcher talking to somebody. Let's see what they're saying here.
Okay, I'll get you a track warrant right now.
Okay, let's read you guys his previous comments here as we wait for the train. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Here we go. Iowa train says this was at 6:30. There's an eastbound coal train with two SD70. How do you guys pronounce this? Is it SD70 Mac E or SD70 Mace? Do you guys pronounce it SD70 Mace or SD70 Mac E? I don't know. I've never had to actually, address one of those engines on one of my videos or anything, so I don't know. I don't know how you guys pronounce it. I think I've heard some rail fans pronounce it as SD70 Mace. But it's the upgraded SD70 Max, basically. There are two of them, apparently, on an eastbound coal train right now in Corning. Of course, that was, almost 30 minutes ago. But Corning is west of Creston. So they're not going to be here until the middle of the night. But that's still quite a ways away. And then we were talking about Amtrak's only depot in Idaho, which is Sandpoint, by the way. I'm pretty sure that's the only Amtrak station in Idaho. Mark asks if there is a specific app to use for rail cameras. Well, I wonder if Virtual Railfan has one. I don't know if they have a phone app, but for like Steel Highway, for their rail cams, and most of the Virtual Railfan cameras, you can just view all those right here on YouTube. But as far as I know, unless Virtual Railfan has an app, I don't think that anybody's got an actual Railcam app yet. Iowa Train says CP 9774 is mid-train on the 260 that just went into town, one of the old Holiday Train locomotives. That's pretty neat. I've seen some of those before on some of the freight trains here in town and elsewhere. Yeah, Mark says, as far as the, modern day, getting from Columbus Junction to Mesa, Arizona, Mark says he could probably get on Amtrak at La Plata and go out the Southwest Chief that way. That's probably a better way to go, so you're not, going back and forth on the Zephyr. Just get straight on the Chief and then maybe get on some connecting bus down to Mesa. Because unfortunately, there's no direct Amtrak train that's serving Phoenix anymore, but there are some neighboring, I don't know what the suburb is that the Sunset Limited serves outside of Phoenix. But the track that Amtrak Sunset Limited used to use going into Phoenix is no longer there. I think they abandoned it, if I remember right. So Amtrak serves Phoenix a different way, but it's still pretty close. And obviously Mesa is near Phoenix. Number 5 was by agency at 6:54. A-Train commented, so they're going to be here pretty soon. That was almost 10 minutes ago.
BNSF, Ottumwa dispatcher, calling Amtrak 30 West. Yeah, hey, did you ever see any pedestrians on that 276.6 or 276.7?
Oh, great.
Okay, I understand. No pedestrians. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming to Central.
Well, there's a little insight as to why it's taking, you know, over 10 minutes for the train to get from agency to here. Apparently, a train or somebody called in pedestrians on the tracks, and so the train went through there at restricted speed. But they just reported to the dispatcher that there were no pedestrians, so they will be able to, any other trains in the area will be able to proceed at normal speed now. Well, I kind of hope that Amtrak gets in here soon, because if there is an eastbound freight train, they will block our view of Amtrak. So I'd like to get Amtrak pulling in at least before that freight train gets here. But I don't know. I kind of hear a distant rumble, so I don't know if there's going to be another train or not. I don't know if that's the freight train approaching, or maybe it's nothing. But there are at least 3 trains approaching on the BNSF, and there's one on the CPKC that is in town right now that we missed because we've been down here waiting on these other trains. Yeah, that is a rumbling. There is something coming. I wonder if it's that freight train. Well, if the freight train comes and we don't get Amtrak coming into the station, we will get them leaving. So, A-Train says I can hear a westbound horn in agency. Well, Amtrak already went through, so it's probably that sand train. So it's not following much further behind Amtrak, which is good. Be able to at least get that train, which sounds like it has a pretty nice lash up. All right, we're gonna go back to the car-mounted camera here really quick. Car-mounted thing. Go. A little more steady view. Kind of zoom in just a little bit so we can see. There we go. So just for a second there, 56, we got 54 people watching right now. Sun's kind of going down. The view is looking a little, really nice right now. So get some action coming along. It'd be nice. Okay, here comes Amtrak. So we're gonna get them coming in before anything else. As I hoped. Westbound California Zephyr here at 7:06, so they're a little late, about 10 minutes late, not bad. They'll definitely be able to make up that time if they don't lose any more out west. So here they come. Our first train of the night after being on the air for almost an hour and a half. But we got to do some pretty interesting things in the meantime. Just look around and discuss some of the new things on the railroad. So here we go. There you have it. Amtrak's California Zephyr has arrived. So now that they have pulled in, we are going to go ahead and reposition ourselves. Get ready for this potential eastbound train and Amtrak's departure. So as you can see that they have pulled up completely here on the platform, because the new platform has been completed, so all the way down. So the trains do not have to make a double stop anymore. There's the front of the train. We're gonna overtake them here really quick. We might just go down and set up down here at Gateway Drive. Still no sign of this alleged eastbound. We'll go ahead and get Amtrak right here.
BNSF, Ottumwa dispatcher, calling BNSF 8584 Eastbound.
There we go. Oh, they're getting close.
Yo, will you check at Fairfield siding and see if that train has power on it or not, and just relay back to us when you get there?
Alrighty. We're gonna park ourselves here and we're gonna get out with the tripod. We're gonna go ahead and get a decent view of the train going by, and then we'll be ready for some freight trains.
Yes, that is correct, over. Roger that, will do. Okay, thank you. BNSF, Ottumwa dispatcher.
Alright, so Amtrak just pulled into the station. They're doing their station work right now. I'm gonna get my tripod ready here, and we're gonna go out to go ahead and go out and get some decent pictures. That eastbound train that we've been talking about is approaching, so get out there quickly. I mean, they're not within view yet, but I heard them over the radio in the distance, so they're a few miles out at least, maybe closer. All right, go ahead and get the camera on the tripod and get out and get some video. All right.
Markers.
Real briefly here, we'll get it set up on the tripod. It's the Gateway Drive crossing, you can see right there. Go out to the crossing and see Amtrak go. And we got a couple of freight trains as well. All right.
While you're watching on this getting them pulled and lined up, that's 39 good.
Really nice light right now. The sun's going down. There's the Gateway Drive crossing. We're gonna go ahead and get set up here really quick. There's the station. There's Amtrak in the station. I'm gonna go down here a little ways so we can get ready for both trains. Amtrak leaving, and then this eastbound train. And depending on where the sand train is, you might just stay here for it too. All right, gonna be slightly jerky here while I get the tripod up. Try to do it as gently as possible. It's kind of one of the neat things of these live streams is that you guys get to see kind of in real time how I prepare for these videos and stuff, which clearly you don't get to see that in my final productions.
to the ice on 1.
There we go. We're up and running. Level this thing out. Here we go. So we were looking east here in Ottumwa now. Amtrak is in the station. They're doing their work. They're going to be pulling out of here any minute now. Hopefully before this eastbound freight train arrives.
Yeah, Mike. Got windows oval. We have more left on French than we do.
And that's them whistling off. That means everybody needs to get on the train. They're going to be pulling out in a couple minutes. Now, I've mentioned this before. For those of you that don't know, Ottumwa is a fresh air stop for Amtrak passengers. That's a designated stop for people to get off the train for 5-10 minutes, you know, stretch their legs, you know, smoke a cigarette, you know, just kind of meander around the platform a little bit before getting on the train again. And that's why they whistle off. A warning for all the people who got off the train to stretch their legs or whatever, to get back on the train before they actually depart.
Are secured. Secured coaches. I'm ready up here, son. Alright, you're ready up there. We're ready back here. Let's highball Ottumwa. Lead in front.
Here we go.
8 and 16.
Well, that's yeah.
Dinner in the diner. Nothing could be finer. There we go.
Still 400 feet. Here we pass.
There we have it. Amtrak's California Zephyr, clear of Ottumwa. And as you can see, approaching in the distance, we have our eastbound train. Perfect timing. Did not get in the way of Amtrak, so that's nice. And here it comes. Didn't have to wait very long at all. And A-Train just commented that the sand train is by agency. That was at 7:15, a few minutes ago. So probably by the time this train clears, the sand train will come through.
Clear to the clear at the ice.
So here they come. That's the eastbound train down there. They dimmed their headlights to go by Amtrak, and they brightened them again since they've gone by the head end. And they're coming fast. Here they come. Our next train in quick succession from this one is this eastbound BNSF movement.
all the WC pressure.
Well, there you have it. Second train of the night. Very quickly showing up after Amtrak's departure, going east. Amtrak going west. Full train. Now, the next train we're going to see, which could be our last train, is this westbound sand train we've been talking about for a while. And I think we're just going to stay put, maybe. Yep. Well, I don't know. Well, that sand train is through agency. We probably better not go very far. And as we might be able to see, we'll pan over here really quick. We'll adjust our tripod here. Yeah, it sounds like that CPKC train is cutting out their DPU and a bunch of other stuff. So, and obviously we're running out of light, so we probably won't get them. But as you can see, down at the IC&E crossing, our next train, which is this westbound sand train, already has a flashing yellow signal aspect down there. That means approach medium. Basically, that means that the next signal is approach, which is a solid yellow, which means the next signal after that is stop. So Amtrak is already a couple of blocks down the line, which, you know, makes perfect sense because of how quickly they go once they get out of town. It's 79 miles an hour. Amtrak is probably well on their way to arriving in their next stop at Osceola, which is about an hour west of here, on time, hopefully. Then after that, they've got Creston, and then Omaha, Nebraska, and then it'll be a little before midnight. Yeah, A-Train just comments, I'm not used to BNSF using flashing yellows. Well, that's because some of this line is still track-worn controlled ABS, and I'm pretty sure those signals do not have a flashing yellow aspect. It's just clear, approach, stop. These new CTC signals have the approach medium aspect, so you can only assume that the signals east of here, when they put in the new crossovers, will be CTC, and they will be able to display that as well. And there you can see the signal just flipped up to clear. So we are all ready for our next train, which shouldn't be very long, and they've got a clear track. We are going to get ready for our next train now. For those of you that are still with us, we've got another train, and that'll probably be our last train of the night. So that's still 3 trains, and it took a while for the first one to get here, which was Amtrak. But in the meantime, we were able to kind of drive around town and look at all the new improvements that BNSF is working on to the railroad tracks in the area. Had some railroad discussions along the way. It's been a pretty good stream. But for those of you still watching, don't leave us yet. We've got one more train on the way. is a westbound sand train. Sounds like there's going to be a pretty good lash up on this train too, so. Yeah, Dakota says there's technically still a train in view, and he's correct. That is because we can see the very edge of the old CB&Q steam locomotive 3001, which is parked at permanent display in the Bowling Park here at the Ottumwa station. During one of the streams sometime, we should go back there and get an in-depth look at that engine. It's pretty neat. It's one of the many 464 Hudson locomotives that CB&Q operated, and there's quite a few that have been preserved. 3001 is here in Ottumwa. There is another one, I think it's 3004 maybe? Somebody can correct me on that if I'm wrong. In Burlington, and 3006, I think, is preserved at the Illinois Railroad Museum in Union, Illinois. And there may be more. But, all right, here is our next train, which is probably our last train of the night. Is most likely this westbound sand train that's been following on the heels of Amtrak. Should be a pretty decent lash up. Pretty interesting. So we're going to just get quiet here and watch this train.
Lined up to the south lead. On and right, and shove back 20 cars to the south lead. Right, lined up, shove back, start off the front field. That's it.
Well, certainly a good lash up on a BNSF train. BNSF Tier 4 leader, another BNSF engine, and a Kansas City Southern SD70AC on the front, and a Canadian Pacific ES44AC on the back. Dakota was mentioning a sound that he heard. I didn't hear anything out of the ordinary that my ears detected anyways. Hopefully there's nothing wrong. To my ears, I didn't hear anything that was out of the ordinary, but there you go. 3 trains. That's pretty crazy because, and this
12 cars.
is just railroading, but
Alright.
we go almost an hour and a half without seeing anything, and then within the space of what, 30 minutes, we see 3 trains. I mean, it's, you know, it's crazy, but that's railroading. You can hear them clearing up at the warrant, their track warrant down there. Alrighty, well, we're gonna go ahead and head back to the car, and as this train pulls away, we'll keep the stream going just for a few more minutes as we head out of downtown, and maybe answer a few more questions and comments that any of you guys might have before ending the stream. It's a pretty decent amount of train action tonight. Kind of wish it could have happened a little sooner in the stream, but we were able to see some, like I said, some of the improvements on the BNSF tracks around here. Camera's going to be just slightly jerky while I get this tripod down. Now, the signals are still lit down there at the IC&E RRX. Usually, when a westbound train goes through and there's nothing else going on, the signals immediately go dark. They're still lit. So that could mean that there's something else coming, but we're running out of light and it's getting a little late, so we will keep the stream going a little while longer as we drive out of downtown as usual. And if for some reason there's another train in the area, we might get it, but the CPKC train that came in that we missed, sounds like they're doing a bunch of work with their DPU and stuff, so obviously we're not going to get that train, but alrighty. A moment here while I get the camera back on the car mount. Go. All right, we are here. We are in the car. I'm ready to drive through Ottumwa at night as we wrap up our action for this evening. Now, as the days get shorter and, you know, the daylight starts disappearing around Amtrak time, we're going to have some more instances of getting some night trains, which, you know, I don't think any of us rail fans really get enough video and pictures of trains at night. And so it's always kind of a special treat to get decent pictures and video of trains at night, because it's harder to do. But thankfully there are a lot of places here in Ottumwa that are well lit enough that you can actually get decent pictures even when it's completely dark. So in the future, when it gets close to winter, if we end up coming out and doing these streams in wintertime, which I didn't do last year, but should do it this year, and we get some night trains, maybe even some trains in the snow too. That'd be pretty cool. So obviously, if I keep doing these evening streams like I do, basically the entire thing in wintertime will be after dark. Good rule of thumb around Ottumwa is when it gets to be about the 1st of October, that is the last time you can really get Amtrak coming through Ottumwa in daylight going west.
Ottumwa dispatch answering the Ottumwa radio. Okay, I got 730-95 to the BNSF 3878 west displayed, over. Body BNSF 3878 west, dispatch by 730-95.
it's kind of nice after the sun goes down. We don't have the glaring sun in our eyes going west, and you don't see a lot of the mud guts on the window. I made sure to clean off before the stream. And like I said earlier, I purchased some new white blades, so I'll be able to get those installed soon, and won't have all the streaks and stuff when I try and clean off the windshield in real time during these streams. We're just going to go down here really quick to Clay Street just to make sure there's nothing else coming. And a few more remarks from you guys maybe, and we'll go ahead and wrap things up tonight. As far as the future video projects that I'm working on, still pretty much the same progress-wise from where we left off at Old Thresher. I'm still in the preliminary editing stages of my CPKC video, which of course features CP2816. I'm still working on that. Old Threshers 2024 will be after that. And then I'll be pretty much caught up in my video projects. I might take kind of a holiday hiatus from working on video projects after my Old Threshers video is done. But I'm still planning on doing these live streams. I plan on keep on doing these live streams as long as people watch. Last year I kind of took a break after October and didn't start doing them again until recently. I should just keep doing these. I mean, it's a lot of fun and you guys really enjoy them, and I seem to get more views every time. So I should keep doing these. Nothing else on the BNSF that I can see, so we're going to go ahead and turn off the scanner. One more sweep downtown. Wrap things up for the night. I don't know if you can see up there in the clouds, there's the moon coming up over Ottumwa. Last night when the Zephyr came in, the moon was just about going behind the clouds, but I was able to get a little picture of it. Of course, it wasn't dark yet. It wasn't completely dark when Amtrak rolled in last night, but the sun was starting to set. It's really amazing because at Old Threshers, which was only a couple weeks ago, the sun was still, higher in the sky, and the sun went down about 8 o'clock. Well, now it's about 20 minutes to 8, and the sun's already down. It's amazing how quickly we start losing sunlight as fall approaches. Now, the fall equinox, obviously they call it the equinox because it is the equal amount of daylight and darkness. Roughly 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness. And then the days continue to get shorter until the winter solstice, when you have the least amount of daylight. Of course, that won't be for several more months until the end of December. And then the days start getting longer again. We're going east on Main Street now. And probably by the time we get to the other side of town and get on the highway, we'll probably end the stream. But go by the station one more time here and across the railroad tracks. So yeah, those are the next two videos I've got coming up in the pipeline, so to speak. The CPKC video, and then the Old Threshers video from this year I'll be working on. Got a lot of good footage at Old Threshers this year, so it's going to be a pretty good program. I'm really looking forward to working on it and getting it done before the end of the year, hopefully. I'm shooting for, November, late November, maybe early December, somewhere in there. CPKC video probably within, the end of the month or, mid-October or so, I'm guessing. We'll see. But those are the next two full-length videos I have planned. And then, like I said, I'll probably do a little break from editing the big videos until after the holidays. Now, as far as shorter videos go, I do have a couple of recent shorter videos that I might upload here within the next few days. Just be on the lookout for that. And of course, future live streams that I may do. So here we go across the Market Street Bridge over the Des Moines River. Really nice night. You can kind of see the sky after the sunsets. It was pretty humid this weekend, but it's shaping out to be a really nice evening. Looking forward to all these nicer nights as the fall weather approaches, with the first day of fall, which now is less than 1 week away. Now, also next weekend is the Pufferbilly Days event in Boone, Iowa. Of course, they are home to the Boone Scenic Valley Railroad, and I might make it up there to their train show. Obviously, I won't be selling anything there or anything. I'll just be browsing. I might even ride the train, too. So, don't know if any video will come out of that or not, but looking forward to that if we end up going. Never been to any of the events surrounding Pufferbilly Days in Boone, so should be interesting. Well, we are going to the other side of town. My wife has requested a stop at Hy-Vee is in order, so that's where we're going to go. We'll probably answer a couple more questions and wrap things up there. Get over here. But then after that, whether I go to the train show in Boone or ride the train up there next week or not, fall will begin. Then we'll look forward to all the events surrounding Midwest Haunted Rails and all that in Mount Pleasant. Now, I haven't determined whether I'm going to take the video camera to Haunted Rails this year. I'm planning on going. I'm not sure if I'm going to take the video camera this year or if I'll do a live stream or what, but we will see. Just have to stay tuned. And obviously, I'll let you guys know if I'm doing a live stream beforehand, like I always do. Away we go. So out there in the distance, you can see that bright light over there on the right side of the road. That's kind of where the CBKC tracks cross the Des Moines River. I don't know if the railroad has some kind of a spotlight out there or what the deal is, but it's always on at night. So I think I just got a comment about going to the North Hy-Vee here in Ottumwa and that it's closed. Well, yes, our North Hy-Vee closed last December. So now we just have two. We just have the South Hy-Vee and then the Hy-Vee drugstore. Those are the only two left. There's plenty of shopping options here in town. You've got Hy-Vees, you've got Walmart, Aldi. Plenty of grocery options here in this town. And if you're hungry, if you want a bite to eat at a restaurant, well, there's plenty of food options too. As you can see, there's a sign for Applebee's over there. And we've also in this area, we have Arby's, Burger King. Further out west towards Walmart, there's Culver's and Hardee's. And in the Quincy Place Mall, which is kind of the direction we're going, there is I know I mentioned it before, the restaurant Bubbacues, which is one of my favorite restaurants here in town, favorite independent restaurants. And yes, Fairway is also another grocery store. We can't forget Fairway. Okay, so here we are at the South Hy-Vee. It's been a pretty good stream today, guys. We've gone over 2 hours, a little over 2 hours. We saw 3 trains, really within the past 45 minutes. It's been a good stream. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I think we had record-breaking attendance during the live stream. We hit almost 60 views at one point, concurrent views during the stream. So that was pretty awesome. Dakota is also saying here, don't forget the Ottumwa canteens. Yes, world-famous canteen loose meat sandwich. They are fantastic. I love the canteen. Mark says, is Pizza Ranch still out west? Yes. It's See, there's so many restaurants in Ottumwa, you kind of forget about them when you start listing them off. So, yes, Pizza Ranch is still out there, and they've got really big arcades there too. Dakota asks, is Graham's still open? Yes, they are. Graham's is still open. They're probably going to go for, you know, another month or so usually. But yeah, that is it. We are all done with the stream tonight. We are here at Hy-Vee. I'm going to get a few supplies and home. So thanks for tuning in, guys, to the stream. Really fun stream tonight, and we'll do this again soon. Okay, so for those of you that did not that were not able to tune in live, the archive's going to be up once the video is done processing, so you can back it up and see all the stuff that we did tonight. But really good stream. Very happy to get another one in, and we will try again later for another one, and shooting for maybe next week sometime, maybe next weekend. We'll see, depending on how busy it is. So for now, thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you all next time. Just be on the lookout for another live stream notices that I put up, and we'll see you then. So with that, it's Bobby Harvey. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. So long.